Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And before any of y'all do the clicky off, or you're waiting for me to be all kinds of like, Jeffree Star is the greatest thing that ever happened to mankind, I'm gonna need you to wait. I'm gonna need you to take a step back, hold on, pause for just a second. This is a video that I am doing for review purposes because I have had a lot of y'all request this review. We will be talking a bit about where Jeffree Star Cosmetics stand on my channel and where we're going to be going into the future of that after the review. So please, before you hit that unsubscribe, that dislike, that whatever, just give it a minute. Just like Nady likes to say, this is a review talking about the products themselves, not the people behind it, although that is impossible to do in the climate right now because of all sorts of things. If you want to skip the review and you just want to hear some of my thoughts and whatevers and kind of how we're going through from here, I will leave a timestamp and everything like that down below. But for right now, and in this segment, I am just gonna be reviewing the palette that kind of broke it all, smashed this dam right on open, and that is the Jeffree Star Cremated palette. This thing was sold out on the first run. Y'all know your girl tried to get that shiz. It did not happen. Then on the restock, it was arrived at Beautylish. I got it. I believe it's still not sold out because people kind of don't care anymore. Not that they don't care about the issues happening right now, but they don't care about buying from Jeffree Star no more. He has reached Kat Von D levels of blown open controversy, hate, whatever you want to call it. That's where we at right now. This whole situation, I have had all kinds of issues from all kinds of whatever. I've been called names that I honestly never thought I would be called in my lifetime. But I mean, to keep it real, there is a first for everything. But this is the, like I said, Jeffree Star Cremated palette. This is gonna run you $58. I assume it is going to be a permanent addition to his collection. It is the same size and layout and format like the Jawbreaker, which personally is my favorite kind because it's sleeker, it's more compact, it's less of a whatever to deal with than Blood Sugar, Blue Blood, Bloodlust, Alien, all of those bigger, more ornate, clunky packaging palettes. I will say right off the bat, this palette does look a lot better in person than it does online. I had a couple of you on my Snapchat say, oh wow, that looks a lot better in that whatever than it did when I looked over there. You can definitely see a bit more differentiation in the shades, though I will say y'all knew. I remember a couple of y'all tagged me when this was like teased or released or whatever, and a couple of y'all were like, I can just imagine you roasting the shiz out of this thing for all of the soft, subtle, pasty setting shades, which it has the matte white, which y'all know your girl is not a fan of. It has this one right here, this, and then this one's a little bit yellow, you know. They ain't going to get away from it just because, oh, well, you need a different tone for a setting shade. No. I understand there's only so much we can do with the monochromaticness. So yes, this palette is not safe from the whole setting shade. Any brand does that. My favorite brands in the world do that, and I'm gonna give them shiz for it. You're getting 24 shades. Your girl is a fan of the matte to shimmer ratio. Jeffree Star tends to have favorable matte to shimmer ratios typically in the majority of his palettes. So that is something that makes my little heart go pity pat. It is what I am wearing on my gothic peepers today. We started off with life insurance right here. Then I went into Wednesday right here. Then we did Gravedigger. And I finally deepened it up with Hearse right here. Then all over the lid, I took Goodbye right here, which is a beautiful shade. And then on my inner corner is Afterlife. So let's just swatch this thing and talk about, you know, my experience with the palette. palette. I'm not gonna sit here. I mean, if I wanted views, I could get up on here and I could trash the shiz out of this thing and do a horrible, horrendous thumbnail, because that's kind of the atmosphere that's getting views right now. But I am coming currently right now as someone who is just discussing quality as well as format and beauty, color theory. We're just going from that standpoint for right now. So we're just gonna go whoop, whoop, whoop. We're gonna start off with Hearst, which I will say is not my favorite black. My new favorite black is from Kaleidos Makeup. I absolutely love. I've got one from ColourPop. I've got Melt Cosmetics is probably my ultimate favorite black. This one, it feels heckin' buttery, and it is heckin' pigmented, but it is also heckin' fallouty. Y'all know how your girl typically does her makeup, and there was a crap ton of fallout in this thing. Then we have Angel of Death, which is that kind of newer, weird, bejeweled. He previewed it, released it, exposed it, showcased it in the Bloodlust palette. What it looks like right there. Then Gravedigger, which also feels very, very smooth going on right here. Next up is Death Certificate right here, which is a beautiful, I'm kind of getting into more gray tones, obviously, as you can see, like today. That was RIP. And then Pallbearer, which is another one of those, like, I don't know, it's like a metallic, but it's not glittery, but it's like more than just a typical shimmer. So here we have them right here. I mean, beautifully pigmented, don't get me wrong. Then Inheritance, which is probably one of my favorite shades in here, because it's like gray, browny green, like definitely kind of dead looking color, which y'all know I'm pretty much into. Wednesday, which is just a typical cool toned gray. Mortuary Beautician, which is really pretty. It's a little bit stiffer. You're gonna want to use a stiffer brush to really get that full level of pigmentation on your lids. See, that Inheritance shade is just like it's like a beautiful brown gray. It's just something that I think is really unique, even in a palette that's relatively monochromatic, repetitive. Then Last Look right here, which is a beautiful, it's a little bit chunky, you gotta blend that, we'll pat that shiz out, but it is very beautiful. I love taking this one all up in the outer whatever, and then this one on the lid. Then Solemnly Swear and The Morgue, which is again kind of skewing in that kind of browny gray, which is actually what drew me, I feel, the most to this, was having those options rather than it all being just like typical silvery cool tones, if that makes sense. I have them here. I mean, that one is just, it's like a brown, but it's got like those intense silver reflex. And then here and here. This one you are gonna experience, you're gonna wanna blend and pat that shiz out. If you're not careful, you're gonna get that shimmery fallout all up on your under eye. And Mausoleum right here, which is another beautiful brown that's got like gold and silver running through it. Embalmed, which is a beautiful, perfect, cool toned gray. Eulogy, which is also really, really pretty. I mean, basically, if it's a matte in this palette, aside from those pasty setting shades, I'm pretty ding dang happy with it. Like, that one is just so pretty. I wish it didn't have that bit of shimmer, schwitz, twinkle, glimmer running through it. Y'all know I am not a fan of that from any brand. So I do wish that one had just been a full matte on its own. Then we have Life Insurance, which is really, really nice. I started my look out with this and it had a really nice level of pigmentation. Then we have Last Respects right here. And then Goodbye, which is it's like a shimmer, but it's not too like cha-cha-cha-cha. It gives you just a very soft sort of reflect and not being like super crazy intense, which I actually found that I liked more than I thought I would. Like, you can see it there. It's like got a lot of, It's got a lot of back pigment to it, but it just kind of gives that slightly light reflecting whateverness. I'm not entirely sure. I really enjoyed it. All right, we'll just make it work. Then we've got Obituary, which is probably the least offensive of the like pasty shades. For someone with my complexion, I can make this work as something that's not just gonna look like nothing on my eyelid. Then Burial Gown, which I could do without. I mean, it's okay. And then Afterlife, which is a beautiful peachy shimmer. If he were to take this and bring it out as like a highlighter shade, I would be very much okay with that. I'm gonna do these ones here so you can see how it's got that, just a hint, just a titch of gray going on there. Whereas this one is gonna be just kind of more on my eyelid. And then this one right here, which is absolutely stunning. I do love that shade. That's probably close to my favorite shimmer in the whole palette. Then last but not least, Casket Ready, which kind of like Burial Gown is just kind of there. I don't understand. I don't like it. Death Blow, which, you know, it's a white. If you have blood sugar, you have it. And then last but not least, Diamond Ashes, which is definitely that weird, funky, shimmy, shiny, weird something glitter shimmer hybrid. It's pretty, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of a weird formula. Okay, where are we gonna do this? Gonna do this one right here. I mean, and then we got the white right here. I think he's formulated better whites. And then this one right here, which is a beautiful opalescent, kind of like the eyeshadow version of Becca's Pearl. Okay, so here we have the Cremated swatches. Obviously, for the majority, we got some heckin' pigmentation going on. We've got some standout shades. I'm really drawn to these like brown-based grays that are very grungy, a little bit different than your typical just cool tone. I mean, this is all cool tone, but a little bit more unique than when you think of gray, you think of kind of more of a blue-based gray rather than brown. I really love this shade. This shade is beautiful, although chunky. This one is really nice. This one is nice. Basically, the only shades that I have issues with are gonna be these two little shades. Like maybe if he could taken them and made them shimmers, it would have added a little bit more depth and dimension. I think it would have been less throwaway than just the mattes, you know. And this one for my skin tone, yeah, I can deal with it, but for anyone that's deeper than me, Jesus take the wheel, that is gonna be pasty. Okay. Now that we've gone through the swatches, let's just talk about sort of my overall experience with this palette. I will say you do get a lot of fallout from this black right here. You get a fair amount of fallout from Gravedigger right here and kind of RIP, but the rest of the mattes coming down here, I experienced minimal to no fallout. They blended beautifully. I will have to say that the formulation on this palette, aside from the fallout from these darker shades up here, the pigmentation and the blend is absolutely beautiful. This is the type of palette you would reach for to sort of reassure yourself that using these sorts of shades doesn't have to be scary as it sometimes typically feels. Because I don't know about anyone else, but for as goth as I am, you know, your girl typically wasn't doing a lot with black. Mostly because the darker the shade, the more like heckin' pigment it is, the harder it is to blend out. All of these, to the lightest of the light, to the darkest of the dark, blended beautifully, absolutely perfectly. I would say that these shades are superior to the Conspiracy collection, to the Bloodlust collection. This is on par with Blood Sugar, Blue Blood, and Alien, to the point where the experience of using them is just pretty much effortless. If you're willing to deal with a little bit of fallout from these top ones, which if you've used Lorac, if you've used KVD, if you've used Milk Cosmetics, you are familiar with a certain amount of fallout. And in my opinion, and in what I like with my makeup, I can deal with a little bit of fallout if the blendability is perfection, which for the majority, this really is. I told y'all I wasn't gonna sit here and I wasn't gonna bash it if I thought it was good. If I thought it was bad, yeah, sure, we'd have some words, but this to me is a beautiful palette. Does it bring out all my inner baby bat whateverness? Yes, yes it does. And I am beyond pleased with how these shades perform. Do I wish we'd have done something different with these ones here? Yeah, I'm sick and tired of seeing stark whites and palettes like this. I understand. It makes just a little more sense in a palette like this where you've got the white to the black and you want to get that high pop of contrast, especially if you're doing graphic shiz with eyeliner in the black. But just my personal preference and how I know how I like to do makeup, it's not a shade that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so excited to see a stark white matte shade. It just doesn't get my creative juices going in one way or another. So I am going to have to be completely 110% honest and say that if you want to support him, if you are intrigued and interested in this color story, I would recommend getting it. I can stand by the quality, the way that the eyeshadows perform, although a little bit repetitive at times. I think in person, the color story is a lot more diverse than it appears online. I mean, it is a monochromatic palette, and sort of in the way with the color palettes and any kind of palette that takes one color scheme and runs with it, it does lend itself to being, well, there's only a certain amount of things you can do with it. The one thing I'm excited about this for, aside from turning me into my, 20-year-old ultimate goth that I wish I could have been, I'm very excited to use this in conjunction with Blue Blood Sugar, Alien, even Bloodlust. Give Bloodlust a bit more depth and definition than it had. So not only am I excited to have this in and of itself, I'm also excited to have this as a supplementary dark toned palette for when I do want to take my color and make it all sorts of dark and vampy. I got this. The formula is beautiful. I think it is, gorgeous, performance, smooth, blendable, pigmented, all the nice, wonderful adjectives you want to use to describe this, I would. Now that being said, obviously there is a lot more to this palette than just, oh, it's got nice packaging and it's got a good formula. There's a lot more stuff behind it than just that. If you are interested in seeing comparisons, if you're interested in seeing alternatives to really popular Jeffree Star palettes, I will leave that video down below. I give a bunch of different alternatives to Blood Sugar, Bloodlust, Blue Blood, this one, Jawbreaker. If you don't want to support him, you don't have the budget for whatever, you can watch that video and sort of get other palettes that have the same vibe. And now the part that I'm sure y'all have been waiting for. What's gonna happen with Jeffree Star Cosmetics on my channel? I am not going to lie. Jeffree Star has some of the best formulas on the market for eyeshadow, for highlighter, for liquid lipstick. He is a company that seems to produce really good, high quality products. Now that being said, while I think this is probably quality-wise one of the best palettes he's ever released, you cannot look at this and sort of not take into consideration what is happening because and around it. Aesthetically, does this make a little goth heart go pity pat? Yes, it certainly does. Taking a palette that is all grays and dark and blacks and all that sort of situation and putting it into essentially a death-themed palette for my inner Edgar Allan Poe loving heart, yes, this is basically aesthetic perfection. Was it timed? not the best. Obviously, I am not in his marketing team. I don't know the specs for when a release is gonna happen, what happens when you push it back and all that, whatever. But it did appear to be pretty tone deaf and insensitive to the chaos that is surrounding what I would say the middle and lower class people in the world right now. Because let's be honest, all the rich people that are saying, oh, we're in this together, we know how you feel, kind of really don't. I am not saying they're not affected by, loved ones potentially getting sick, loved ones potentially passing on, but sort of that whole, we're in the same boat as you while we're living in our 14-bedroom, 10-bath apartments with pools and entertainment rooms and everything like that. It's like, no, you have your job, you have your money, you're not over here really on the front line like all the medical professionals are on the front line, like all the people who are being directly affected by this whole situation. Yes, it sucks for everybody, but I feel like it sucks just a little bit less for someone who has a net worth that's over $1 million. Also, I do have a little bit of feeling, just a little bit, not saying this is a fact, but I feel no matter when or what time or how he does a release, people are going to find something wrong with it. Because there is a lot of traction, a lot of motion with hating on him and his products, regardless of whether they actually are insensitive or not. There is a group of people who will do whatever they can to just hate on it. That was certainly part of the case with this, but I do also feel there is a certain amount of cultural just ignorance. Like, I mean, if he had waited, because this was released in May, if he had waited until like September or October, the timing of the release would have been better. We would have had some time to have this sort of, be less fresh than it is, although we are kind of existing in a new normal. I think then it would have lended itself to being more, no, I'm not making a palette based on death because of the situation. I'm doing it for the spooky season, and then all the spooky people would have gotten in on it. And so there's just a level of, just a lack of tact, a lack, once again, tone deafness. I am not even currently going to touch on the entire situation that is currently going on. I am thinking about doing a whole video on that, sort of giving my feelings. I am not a drama channel. I do not want to be a drama channel. I do not want to be known as the consistently woke beauty YouTuber who has crazy, who always has these ideals and standpoints and whatever. I want to use my platform when I feel the need to express my feelings. I do not want to be the constant, always talking about things that are happening. Am I going to discuss things that are important and personal to me and that I think need to be discussed? Yes, I am. But I don't want to get into the habit of feeling like I need to address every single thing and justify my viewpoint on something just for the sake of views. Y'all know that I made a video talking about the 8 passengers. I've had a couple people say, well, why haven't you done a video on Black Lives Matter? Because when it comes to something that is such an important issue, you can't just sit down and willy-nilly make a video. This is something I want to look at, I want to think about, I want to plan my thoughts. I don't just want to get on here and say whatever the frig in the moment. It is too important of a thing to just go off willy-nilly without any sort of preparation to really back what you're saying. So just because someone hasn't been outspoken or made a dedicated video to a certain thing does not mean that they are not in support of that particular thing. It means they may be trying to take their time to say the right thing. I would rather be known for taking longer and coming out with a statement that I feel comfortable with than just popping off immediately and not making the type of sense or the type of statement or the type of information I want to put out on my channel. I am a small YouTuber, but nonetheless, what I put out here on this platform is on my shoulders. And I am not gonna just, put whatever friggin' out there within 4 hours of something dropping because I want clicks. I apologize if this is getting a little bit a little bit off track. I mean, sort of long story short, my channel is going in the avenue of not supporting Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Not because I don't think his formulas are amazing, not because I don't love his products. I'm not gonna go out and take all my palettes and all my stuff by him and burn them or destroy them. That is wasted money. That is just, I don't agree with that. The people that were taking the James Charles palette and destroying it, I think that's kind of stupid. But for the future, mainly because I feel like there hasn't been a consistent amount of change. There's been a lot of apologies. There's been a lot of, oh, let it go. There's been a lot of, I did that however many years ago, but there hasn't been enough actual change in action and attitude. I do not want to deal with that negativity. I do not want to deal with that sort of, I just don't want to bring that bad energy to me and my channel. I just don't. And I strongly believe in action supporting words. There's a reason I'm not repping Dolls Kill no more. Because doing a bad thing or making a mistake is one thing if you take it and you learn from it and then you say, that's something I made that was stupid, I was dumb, I was a moron, and I see that that's bad. And you then use that experience as an example for you to not do it again. But if you just keep saying, well, I'm sorry, and I'm not gonna do it again, and y'all need to forgive me and give me another chance, it's like maybe actually change you before you want us to accept you and forgive the things that not just you've done, but that you keep doing. For the longest time, I wanted my platform to be a place where I could review makeup, where I talked about the products and not the people behind them. But in the climate and the situation, the era of beauty community that we are living in, that is no longer possible. Cancel culture is rampant, as well as opinions are fantastic. I love being opinionated. I love discussions. I love having nice adult civil conversations about things when people disagree. So that is wonderful. However, we do live in a current climate where people would rather scream at you and tell you you're a horrible, terrible person than trying to not even understand your point of view, but even allow you to have a different point of view and you not be the scum of the earth. I understand it is not a fair comparison, but I mention this dude's name and I get called all sorts of whatevers. I do not go to people I do not seek PETA on people who use non-cruelty-free makeup. It is one thing to have an opinion and express it. It is another thing to take it upon yourself to police every aspect of someone else's content. If you don't agree, it is okay to leave. But for me and my decision that I am coming to, just because of the situation, the The inconsistent consistency of being, I swear, if we had a dime for every time Mr. Star was in drama, we would all have as much money as him. But when you have these consistent things, it's not an accident or a fluke, it becomes a pattern of behavior. Is his pattern more likely to get exposed because people love nothing more than redigging that up? Yes. But if you don't do anything wrong, you don't have anything to hide. And that is not saying that anyone is capable of not ever doing anything wrong. If we dug into every single person's life on this planet, there would be something that they would be ashamed of and that would cause people to dislike them or even hate them. So, like I said, kind of like how I did with KVD, and maybe Jeffree will step away from his. No, he'll never step away from his company. No! But I am going towards not purchasing or not showcasing on my channel his cosmetics anymore, because I do not want the negativity, the nastiness. I do not want to support someone who thinks it's okay to be so inconsistent. Someone who is morally, ethically okay with treating someone like trash 1 second and then posting about BLM on their Twitter. It's like, can you not, let's not have the inconsistency, okay? Either you're gonna be true to whatever nasty colors you have, or you've actually changed and you're gonna move forward and you're gonna stop doing those nasty, awful, trashy things that you've been doing. All right, I understand that probably wasn't the statement most people wanted to hear, but at the end of the day, I have to live with myself. I have to say what I'm okay with and how I truly feel. I don't want to come out here and make statements that I'm making just because people want me to make them. But I understand that with a platform comes the responsibility of needing to address things for the sake of my subscribers. And for all of you who have offered your support and stayed with me through this whole craziness, I cannot tell you how grateful I am. You guys are seriously the best group of subscribers I could ever have asked or wished for. I hope you enjoyed this review. Do let me know how you feel about the palette down below. And if you want to, be civil, be nice. If you want to discuss the current situation about all of this stuff like that, feel free to have a civil discussion. People who are being nasty, people who are being ignorant, people who are hating for just the sake to, hey, y'all gonna be blocked and your comment gonna be deleted because I ain't having my good subscribers get bullied by people who want to come on here and just be nasty. So definitely keep that in mind with y'all's discourse. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!